Hi everyone, it's Heather Cooper here, playing with paper crafting, and I'm here for my regular Monday morning live. So I'm excited to be able to show you a technique called Joseph's coat, and it's not a new technique, it's rather old, but it's a beautiful one, and it's one that's really suited for our, part of it anyway, is suited for our Stamparatus. And today I also wanted to use some of our new ink colors. Well, they will be our new ink colors once our new 2021, 2022 annual catalog comes out, starting May 4th. So I wanted to give you a preview of the new ink colors, and I wanted to show you this new technique, and I'm hoping you're going to really enjoy our video this morning. So we'll get started. All right, so this is the Butterfly Brilliance stamp. It's actually a background stamp because it's one big stamp. And as I say, I've used some of the new ink colors. I'll show you what they look like right here. So this is Polished Pink here. This is Evening Evergreen. This is Fresh Freesia. This is Pale Papaya. And this is Soft Succulent. So we're going to use all those colors except for Evening Evergreen in this card, whether it's ink or paper. And we're going to use our blending brushes and some clear embossing. So it's an emboss resist technique actually. So we're going to start with our basic black card base, and it's a 5.5 by 8.5 piece of cardstock, which is half a sheet of cardstock, and it's scored at 4.25 inches. So I'm just burnishing the fold there, and then this is a piece of Pale Papaya cut at 4 inches by 5.25 inches. So I'm just going to add adhesive to that and place it onto my card base. I'm using Stampin' Snail here. It's a great basic adhesive, stronger than, did I say snail? I meant seal. This one looks like it's cut a little bit short. Well, okay, I'm going to set that aside, and then I'm going to take, so I'm going to use this basic white cardstock, and it is cut at 3.75 inches by 5 inches. And I am going to use my blending brushes to add some color. Okay, I'm going to put down just some pieces of copy paper here to do this, just to protect my grid paper. So this is Pale Papaya. It's the lightest color. We're going to start with that. And I'm going to use this blending brush. I love the new blending brushes. Now, I've learned something. You have to hold the ink pad when you go to ink up your blending brush. I'm used to holding it like this, but I find when I do, I always get ink on my fingers and thumb. So it's best to hold it from the side because you have a bigger gap here between the pad, the ink pad, and your fingers and thumbs. Okay. So I rub it fairly heavily on the ink pad. And then before I add the ink to my cardstock, I'm going to rub it off a little bit on my scrap paper before I add it to my cardstock, just to get that first blush of ink off, so I don't end up, you know, creating like this huge blob of dark ink on my paper. So I've got, oh, there I go again. I want to hold it by the sides. I know it's so ingrained in me that I have such a hard time remembering not to do that, because I've got some unsightly blobs on my paper from stuff I have on my fingers. So I'm going to use a corner here. And just add some of that pale papaya to a corner. Okay. So I'm just going to put that brush aside and this ink pad. And I'm going to bring out my polished pink. Open that up. And I'm going to get a new brush out here. Okay, turn it sideways. Oh, there we are. Oh, I see what's going on. My tablet is being scanned. Okay, so that's loaded up. This is the color that I actually had the most problem with before. All right, so first blush of ink off. I'm going to blend it in with the other colors too. And find another area, holding it by the sides and not the top and the bottom. There we go. Blend it in. Okay. I'm going to use the same brush, but before I do, I'm going to get most of that ink off. I'm going to use the fresh freesia, and I don't want to contaminate that, so I just want to rub as much of that ink off as I can. All right, here we go. Holding sideways, right? I have to learn all these things the hard way, so I'm inking up my brush with the fresh freesia. Okay, and I'm going to go for this corner here with the fresh freesia. Kind of blend it in with the polished pink. What do you guys think of the colors? I really, really, really like them. Normally I say I like them, but this time I really, really, really like them. They're just colors that really appeal to me. So, and actually I really, really like all of them. Even that dark evergreen, evening evergreen, really appeals to me. Okay, so we've got yellows and pinks in here and purples. Now we're going to soothe it all down by adding that soft succulent. And this is that soft succulent, which is a real, I don't know what, it's a blue-green teal, but really muted teal color. Okay, so I've got a real ridge of color on my blending brush there. Get that off so I don't mess things up here. So I'm going to bring that in here. I just love these blending brushes. They just make such a smooth, soft ink blending in your work. They're just so much better than sponging and brayering and everything. They just do such a gorgeous job. So I think they have them back again. There, we'll just bring that in, and that just kind of, I'm going to add a little bit to the edge there, and a little bit to this edge here, and that just kind of tames everything down. Okay, so I think we're finished our sponging. I could do that forever. It's so soothing. Okie dokie. Now we're going on to the embossing part. But before we do that, we've got to make sure that this is dry, this ink. So I'm going to use the first setting on my heat tool to just go over that ink and make sure that it's completely dry, because when we're adding embossing powder on here, we don't want it to stick over the whole surface, right? So we've just added a bunch of ink to it. Yeah, so you know, when you've got ink all over the paper here, that Stampin' Up! Or Stampin' Emboss powder will stick to anything that's the least bit wet, so you want to make sure that it's good and dry here. So I'm spending some time drying it, and then I'm going to really use static reducing tool. We used to sell them and called them an embossing buddy. They're just filled with a powder that reduces oils and static. You could probably buy them at craft stores now that we don't sell them. Or I think you can find instructions online about how to make your own. So I'm hoping that's good enough. I'm going to bring in my Stamparatus now. Okay, so I'm going to sort of center this and just add my magnets at the very corners, just enough to hold it still, and make sure it's straight here. Okay, then I want to make sure that that's where I want it to be. Need to move this magnet a bit so that it's not interfering with that butterfly up there. Okay, that's good. All right, so I'm going to use Versamark ink, and I want to ink up the butterfly. I'm just going to move the heat tool for a minute so I can move this over and you can see what I'm doing. So I'm going to use Versamark ink, and I'm going to carefully ink up my butterfly. Butterfly Brilliance stamp set here. And that noise you hear in the background is my husband being noisy. He's kind of irreverent about my Monday morning videos. Tries to get away with as much as he can. Okay, tend to go overboard here. I just want to make sure I don't have any edges inked up here that could create edges on my... Okay, that looks pretty good. Okay, so here we go. Now I'm just gonna stand because we need to get leverage here. I'm probably shaking the camera, sorry about that. Okay, so that should do it. We'll remove that. It would be nice if you could actually see if you've got a full, you know, if your images are fully stamped or not, but it's Versamark and it's hard to tell. They should bring out a light that you can shine on your Versamark images and tell whether they're whole, complete. Know where you can put your fingers so you don't wreck them. Somebody want to invent that? Okay, we'll just add our clear embossing powder. Even when that's on, it's hard to tell. I can safely hold it in this corner here. I don't know if you guys can see. Yeah. Okay, so now we have to heat set that embossing. And we want to make the powder disappear, basically. And it's really important that every bit of embossing powder on here is heat set. Because if it isn't, you'll have a mess on your hands afterwards when you add the dark ink. So really heat set it with care, making sure that every little bit is heat set. All those little details. Okay, so I'm just going to, oh, there's an edge, darn. I'm just going to run my fingers over it to see if I can feel any loose powder. And if not, we should be good. Something feels loose there. Okay. Good. I think we're good. Okay. The next part's going to make you cry because we have to cover up all that beautiful color with black. So we're going to take the Memento Tuxedo Black ink pad. We're going to apply, I'm just going to clear off that powder here. We have to apply that directly to the paper here. So we're just going to rub it right on, and we want to cover up everything. So we want to cover up all that beautiful color except where it's clear embossed. Oh, I'm making a mess. Should have put down some scrap paper, but it's too late now. Okay, so now I've got the outside part done, but now I want to make sure I get all the little nooks and crannies in those butterflies, all the little inside bits. So I'm sort of tipping my ink pad up, so I'm using a corner, and then just really rubbing it into those bits there. Okay, I'm going to let it dry for a minute, and while I do, I need to get some paper towel as well as clean my fingers off. Paper towel or a tissue. Actually, I'm going to get a tissue. So you need something soft. A soft tissue works the best, and I'm just going to now rub it over the embossed areas. And see, that was right there was where I thought there was something that wasn't embossed properly, and some loose powder came up, so you can see that while it didn't make like a dark icky mess, it did take away some of the detail there. So that's why it's really important to make sure that everything is embossed clear, is heat set. And there's another spot there. So it can be tricky just in those little details, and also making sure that you don't have a lot of embossing powder sticking to your paper when, so making sure that you use the embossing buddy and making sure that your ink is dry before you emboss. Okay, so as you rub that away, the pattern is revealed. Yeah, and this technique too is not like one that you're always going to get perfect results from, so I think it's best not to expect that. Okay, so then you want to glue this onto your card front. So we'll do that while I've got this protective paper down here. I just, because it's got to be warped a little bit because of the heating, I'm going to use Seal Plus. But Seal would probably be fine. position that. And I'm going to just open it up and use my bone folder on the inside to make sure it's stuck. Okay, now you can use any kind of label size that you want, and any kind of sentiment that you want for this. But I happen to have a leftover paper pumpkin label that I thought I might as well put to good use. You can, use any kind of label, punch, die, whatever you have. This sentiment, Missing You, is from the Loyal Leaves stamp set, which is retiring. And by the way, the retiring sale is on now. And did you realize that there are some amazing deals there? Like some of the dies are on up to like 75% off. It's amazing. So you'd be, I haven't seen deals like that for a long time. I mean, I've seen them like 65%, but 75% off is amazing. I can't believe that they're letting some of those and fairly new dies go for like 75% off. It's amazing. So anyway, you might want to check that out. Also, you might want to check out tomorrow, because they're updating the clearance rack. So you know how fast things go with the clearance rack. You might want to just pop in quickly on the website tomorrow. Check out the clearance rack. I'll be putting links on my site to that. So Missing You, stamped with polished pink. One of the new in colors. Okay, so I'm going to use some dimensionals, mini dimensionals for this. Put a few of them on here. And then we'll locate them in the most strategic place possible to cover up the boo-boos or the imperfections. What do you guys think? It could be down here, here, or up here. I don't like it up there, even though there is a boo-boo up there. It just doesn't balance right. I think I'm going to, I think I'm going to add it here. And if I wanted to, I could get some sequins out and add a sequin there and a couple other places. And that would take care of the other boo-boos. Yep, no mistakes, only opportunities for embellishments. Anyway, that is the Joseph's coat technique. So basically what it is you sponge a background with different colors. Then you take stamp sets or like a background stamp, and you clear emboss it onto that sponge piece of paper and heat set it, and then you cover it all with black ink, and then rub away the black ink from the clear embossing, and then you have a result that looks like this, Joseph's coat technique. And that is all there is to it. Well, anyway, thanks for tuning in, everyone, and we'll see you next Monday for my next Monday Morning Live. I think the next time I do this, I'm going to show you one that's called faux metal embossing. Okay? And you'll find an example of that on my blog on Wednesday. Okay? Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.